Yeah, what's up? This disciple Marcello Occurrence reign back up in this anti-Illuminati all day, anti-America all day, anti-telepathy all day, anti-gang stalker all day. Yeah, so this message basically is going to be about uh, we can beat the Americans with righteousness, holiness, and the monk style. We beat the Americans with righteousness, holiness, and monk style. See, the Americans can't be without all the drinking, all the smoking, all the shaking of butt, all the punching and fighting and shooting. They can't be without that. We beat them with purity. We beat them with righteousness. This is how we beat them. We beat them with the monk style. They have not mastered the monk style. They may have mastered everything else. There may be even some Christians here, but even the Christians here have not mastered the monk style. The monk style is to abstain from the culture, to abstain from the community, to abstain from the hazardous things of the surrounding area. The Christians here in America have not mastered the monk style. So you can beat the Americans with the monk style. The reason why we're talking about beating the Americans, to people who are oblivious to the facts, are that Christians are being gang stalked in America. Okay? They're being gang stalked. Okay? I hear people talk about it all the time. I hear Christians on YouTube talk about it all the time. It's not just me. Okay? Some of you are saying, well, it's just you. No, it's not. Go listen to some of these Christians that talk about monitoring spirits and witches and warlocks that's that's around. You know, I'm not the only one. And so this means that it is a spiritual liability for America. You know, they need to get a hold of their citizens, but it's too late. We don't care if you get a hold of your citizens or not. We know that it's a form of a race war, because if it was black people doing it, or if it was Arab people doing it, men of Arab descent that look like Osama bin Laden with long beards and long robes, if they looked anything like that, you would have gotten a hold of gang stalking a long time ago. Anybody else convinced, like I'm convinced, that if it was Arab people that looked like Muslims, they would have been got rid of gang stalking? Anybody else agree with that? Anybody else agree with that? You think they'll let Muslims ride around forever, just doing whatever they want to do? No. Come on. You know this country better than that. These rednecks are not letting no Arab people ride around with robes on, with beards on in their country. They're not going to do it. And if you're oblivious to this fact, rednecks are all around the country. You rednecks in New York. Oh, so it ain't no rednecks here. Oh, you must be naive. Well, ain't no rednecks up here. This is New York. Rednecks run your country. Portions of it. I am not oblivious to this. Okay? I am not oblivious to this. Okay? So we have to beat them with the righteousness of God. We have to beat them with the monk style. The monk style is to abstain from their culture. Here specifically is to abstain from their culture, abstain from their people, abstain from all the things of America. And see, the man that really has done it the best is the Native American man. The Native American man is not in their environment. He is not of their culture. He is not. You don't see a whole bunch of Native American rappers and singers, do you? Do you see a whole bunch of Native Americans in the sports, in basketball and football? You don't see a whole bunch of Native Americans nowhere, do you? Think about it. They're not in the sports. They're not in the entertainment. They're not in any of that. They have chosen to abstain from America. I admire them for their whole position. They are innocent people. They mind their business. Hispanics and Latinos act like they're minding their business, but they do not mind their business. They act like they're minding their business. The Native American man minds his business. That's what he does. And he abstains from the culture. He abstains from America. And I'm not talking about all Hispanics and Latinos. Obviously not. Read between the lines. Don't be stupid. Okay? Don't be stupid. Okay? The Native American man is the flawless man. He, to a degree, he represents the monk style. He stays away. He has chosen to stay away from the culture. He has chosen to abstain from the people. In my personal opinion, if African Americans would have done what he done, we would have been further along. We should have had abstained from the path of the white man. Black people wanted to go live where the white man lived. The Native American did not choose. He did not want to live where the white man lived. He did not want to live. He didn't want to vote. He didn't beg for rights to vote. He didn't beg for rights to live where he lived. He took his land and he stayed away. Now, guess what? Now we all respect him more, don't we? Even including the white man. He respects him more than he respects you. As the African American community, he respects him more. You know why? Because he stayed in his own lane and he didn't try to come live where the white man lived. He didn't try to go do what the white man do. You insisted on trying to be where he's at. You should have looked at the Native American man and you should have fought for reservation land. Listen to me now. I made a video about this already. You should have fought for reservation land, and at least you could have improvised and had solid land away from the government and away from the white community and away from everyone else. That would have been easy to understand, but you didn't fight for it. If you had fought for reservation land in the beginning when the Native American man was getting his reservation land, if you would have fought for it then, they would have considered you both needing the same thing. They would have felt that you both needed the same thing, and they would have gave you both the same thing. You didn't fight for that. You didn't fight for reservation land. You should have fought for reservation land as African Americans, and you would have had land away from the community. And if you wanted to come out here and get involved in the culture and the community, you could. But when you needed to retreat away from the culture, you would have had somewhere to go. If you needed to retreat from the white man, you would have had somewhere to go. And you could have easily won that battle because you was basically similar to the struggle of the Native American. So they would have looked at y'all both the same. Okay, you need land and y'all need land. You need land and they need land. You see what I'm saying? If you would have did it in that time frame, you would have been considered two tribes that had the same need. But you didn't do that. You wanted to go live where he lived, following behind somebody who hates you. If you notice, the racist people don't talk much about the Native Americans. How can they? How can they? How can they? You notice that? They don't talk about the Native Americans. They may mock them out of dumb ignorance, but they can't disrespect him. They can't find fault in him. I can show you a bunch of fault in the black people killing each other. The culture is detrimental to their own community. I can show you a million things that's wrong with the black community. Native American man, what has he done wrong? What has he done wrong? Let's make this understood. He is the highest ranking ethnicity and tribe here. There is none of you that is like him here. Okay? None of you. You've all been killing each other. Are you part of the culture? Are you part of the foolishness? The Native American man is the only one that is not part of the foolishness. He's not part of the foolishness. Hispanics and Latinos are part of the foolishness. Go to the prison system and you'll see how many Hispanics and Latinos are locked up. They're part of the foolishness. Let's not misunderstand that. Let's not misunderstand that. You can go, and if you don't believe me, like I said, go to the prison system and you'll see how many Hispanics and Latinos locked up. Okay, they're part of the foolishness too. You already know black people are part of it, and you already know white people are part of it. You already know that a black, white, and Hispanic and Latinos are part of the foolishness. Okay, the Native American man is the only one that is not a part of this foolishness that's going on here. Okay, you can go find Native Americans that will do evil for you, right? But collectively speaking, you can't get them to do what you want them to do. You may be able to find a loose Native American that has been deceived by your wickedness, right? And does what you want him to do, but you can't do that collectively. You can't make him kill people collectively and kill himself collectively and kill his own people collectively. He may drink, but he doesn't bother anybody. His vice may be alcohol, but he does not harm anyone else for the most part. His vice may be drinking, but last time I checked, drinking really doesn't, and I'm not condoning it per se, but let's just say, technically speaking, it doesn't physically harm anyone else. At face value. Everyone's individual, but at face value, alcohol doesn't harm anyone but the person that's doing it. So yeah, that's a newsflash. You know, black people are not the most innocent people here. Let's get that understood. The Native Americans are the most innocent people in America. So all you people stop walking around, whether it's Hispanics, Latinos, or blacks, or whoever you are, all these people stop walking around like you're the most innocent person in the world. That's foolishness. The Native American man is the most innocent tribe here. Okay? Case closed, buddy. He has nowhere to go. We can easily go to another place and connect to people that are like ourselves. He can't do that. He can't go nowhere and connect with people like himself. This is all he has. And you've ruined his experience here. Okay? Okay? So for all the people that start to see, you don't understand something. See, the bottom line is this is the war between good and evil. Okay, that's all it is, man. You're just too stupid to see it. You know, you don't have anything on me. You know, I speak the truth. If you can't handle the truth, then just say you're a sucker. I mean, that's just it. I mean, you know, you're not totally grown. You're not a totally grown adult if you can't handle the truth. You know, I can handle the truth. I can't handle lies. That's what I can't handle. I can, but I can't. You know what I mean? I can handle the truth. Long as you're talking the truth in full entirety. Long as you're not manipulating it and putting your own narrative on it. Long as you ain't manipulating the truth, I don't have any problem with it. I tell you the whole full spectrum of the truth. And half of y'all can't take it. Because you've been deceived to think that you're so good and you're not so good. You know who's really good here? The Native American man. He's the one that's good. He stays away from everybody. And he doesn't bother nobody. He's not asking you to give him more land and to give him his country back. He's not pleading with you about this. How we beat the Americans How we beat the wicked Americans is through righteousness and monk style. Righteousness and monk style. This is how we beat them, because they're full of wickedness. They're full of unholiness. And so they're going to get bad retribution, spiritual retributions for that. They have gay marriage in 50 states. They have child marriage in 43 states. Okay, they're marrying children, and men are marrying men, and women are marrying women, and they're marrying children. Okay, they passed their last child marriage law under the Donald Trump administration and presidency. That's when they passed their last child marriage law under Donald Trump's presidency. Why Donald Trump ain't telling us about it? His big mouth talks about everything else. How come he hasn't talked about the child marriage law passed under his administration? Makes you think he's with it, right? He's with it. Let's be 100. He's with it, ain't it? Let's be 100. He's with it. Okay? So, well, you tell me. Is it indirect acceptance of it, or what it is? Indirect or direct? It's one of them. Big as his mouth is, he ain't saying nothing about it. But he talking about everything else, down to Rosie O'Donnell. In the past, he's talked about Rosie O'Donnell and LeBron James. But he can't get around to talking about child marriage under his own administration that was passed under his administration. Whether he passed it directly or not. It was passed on his watch. Yet he has time to talk about Rosie O'Donnell and LeBron James. That's the country that you call America, where he can talk about, celebrities, but yet he cannot talk about 43 states of child marriage. And the last child marriage law passed under his administration. He can't talk about the last child marriage law passed under his administration. This is easy. All you have to do as the enemy of this country is to abstain from unrighteousness and holiness, and we have this. This is how we beat them, is through righteousness and monk style, abstaining from their culture, abstaining from unholiness, abstaining from the filth that is in their community. This is how we defeat them. We defeat the Americans with the monk style. We don't have to shoot them. We don't have to hurt them. We don't have to kick and punch them. We beat them with monk style. This is their weakness. Look at it for what it is. Their weakness is gluttony, appetites of sin. They can't stay away from this. They can't stay away from that. They can't stop doing this. They can't stop doing that. Look at them. They're like all drug addicts. They all got to have something. They all got to have something. They're all addicted to something. They all got to have something, right? This is how we beat them. And what they going to say? What you going to say? What you going to say to me? What? Some will say you're due for it. Some will say you're due for it. So we just gotta realize this is what it's come to. Nobody's playing any games with them. And I'm showing you how we're gonna beat them. We're gonna beat them through the monk style. The monk style is what's gonna beat them. So how are we gonna beat them? We're gonna beat them through the monk style. The monk style is what's going to beat them. Long as we got the monk style, how can they win? The monk is not going to go and burn their faces off. They're not going to go shoot them and punch them around like they do to Asian people. They go punch Asians randomly. These Americans punch Asians randomly because they think they're responsible for COVID-19. This is how stupid they are and petty they are. You telling me you can't beat that? See, you have not considered how. You have not considered their weakness. Their weakness is sin. And unfortunately for them, I am a Christian. Wrong game to play, buddy. Wrong game. Your weakness is your immorality. The Americans' weakness is their immorality. They got to always be doing something sinful. They are not a whole community of good, righteous, wholesome people. Their weakness is sin. Their weakness is unrighteousness, excessive wickedness. So what do? You contrast it. And the heavens are going to be on your side. God is going to be on your side. While their karma is constantly coming. That's the seventh hour. See, the bad part about being immoral is you can't just be immoral. Something else happens. Guess what happens when you're immoral? Guess what happens when you're immoral? Guess what happens? You have bad karma. Ding, 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 ding. That's what you won. Come on down. Think it's a contest. Okay, come on down. Here's what you won. A stupid prize for playing a stupid game. Open it up. It's definitely a stupid prize. But not in my book. It's a prize you deserve. Bad karma. See, the bad part about the Americans are they're going to hang themselves anyway because they have bad karma. Look at all this bad karma they're stacking up. That's what I'm trying to show you. It's just all we have to do is wait them out. They have bad karma. It's constantly coming. Okay? That's all we got to do. Wait them out. They got bad karma. Be proactive in righteousness. Be proactive in holiness. Be proactive in monk style, abstaining from the American culture, abstaining from their public places and environments, abstaining from these things, and we wait them out, and their bad karma is going to deteriorate them. Keep in mind, God is bringing plagues as well in wrath. See, the bad part about being the greatest is, the cons about being the greatest? What Americans still haven't learned from their little rock stars. They should have learned from their little rock stars. When you're the greatest, no one can tell you to stop doing wrong. It's a dangerous place to be. You can do no wrong to others, and others are not going to tell you to stop doing wrong. You have to make up your mind to stop drinking, stop partying, stop having promiscuous random sex. You have to make up your mind to stop doing all these things, and if you don't, you will be a casualty. And so it's the same thing also with the American government. They played all these games, they're doing all what they want to do, and they're on top, and no one can tell them to stop doing what they're doing. So guess what happens to the rock star? The rock star kills himself through drugs and alcohol and overdosing. The rock star girl kills herself through all the drugs and the partying. No one else did it. In many cases, in the average cases of most rock stars, on the average, most of them killed themselves indirectly. They party too much, they drink too much, and they overdose, and they killed themselves. Okay? That's the same case with America as the system. They have no one to tell them to do the right thing. No one's telling them to do the right thing. It's just a big rock star system. And ultimately, it's going to overdose and kill themselves. So uniquely with this community, it's going to be just like a rock star the immorality that destroys this community. Just like a rock star is not killed by, some assassin. They're killed by their own hand making them do immoral things. This is how they leave the earth. Not how they lose a battle. This is how they lose their lives. At their own hands, being immoral. So what we have to do is let them hang themselves. And they have been good with it in the past, and they're going to be, and by the looks of it, they're going to be good with it in the future. You already got gay marriage in 50 states. That's foundationally that's what we're working with. The gay marriage in 50 states, that separates them from God. There is no more God with America. That's done. Okay? Don't let them fool you. They'll sit up and tell you about the mercy of God, and God doesn't invest mercy in a country that has no intentions of serving him. This country has no intentions of serving him. Why would he invest mercy for them to live longer? You got 50 states with gay marriage. You have a whole community that backs gay lifestyle. So the laws are not going to be overturned. Some would say 99.9% permanent because of the whole culture and community backing and accepting the gay lifestyle. So that's our foundation for why we know that God is not with this country, because it's not leaving. It's one thing to pass gay laws and make a mistake, right? They have a whole culture surrounding it, which means it's almost permanent. It's not going away. I'm telling you, it's not going away. And when you accept this, and you understand this, you'll stop sitting up as a Christian thinking you can pray away God's wrath. God, please don't do this. You're not looking at the rules. You're not looking at the regulations. You're not paying attention to the principles that they have violated. You're not looking at that. You're not looking at that. You're not looking at that. You're thinking as a maniac evangelist that just thinks that everybody's just going to get saved. Okay? When Revelations 22:11 says, let the filthy stay filthy. See, you should have knew the Jewish side was going to have their revenge. How the Germans did the Jewish people. Now we're getting our revenge. We're getting our revenge. You should have knew this was coming. And the revenge is coming in the form of the vengeance of the Lord, who is the King of the Jews. And the Illuminati started in Germany. So it looks like the Jews are getting their rightful due of right just retaliation. We're anti-Hitler. We're going to bring an onslaught against the Germans, per se, through this group, the Illuminati, who started with a German, Adam. Adam started the Germany group, the Illuminati. We ain't even gonna respect him and tell you his last name. His name was just Adam. His name was just Adam. Adam started the group, the Illuminati. It's kind of funny how he got the AD with the AD of like Adolf Hitler, Adam, AD and AD right there. Just notice that. So the Jews are going to be on top this time. And onslaughts are going to happen that you have not dreamed of. That's going to make Hitler look like a Boy Scout. Hitler is going to look like a Boy Scout dressed in his little Boy Scout shorts. With his little weed blow badges. He's gonna have his little. He's gonna look like a little Boy Scout with his Weeblo badges on. I got this one from patching. From putting patches on a bike. Wait till you see. Wait till you see what happens. Wait till you see what happens. We're not playing, man. We're not playing. I'm telling you. And listen, I'm way above like all that ethnicity stuff. You can't shake me with that black stuff. You can't shake me with none of that. I have surpassed all of that. I have alliance in different places. I don't need a certain ethnicity at this point. I'm with the kingdom of God. You understand me? I have surpassed all of those little cultural hangups and all the little politics y'all got going on. I'm way past that now. I'm way past that now. You're subject to it. I'm not. You're subject to that, and I am not subject to it. You're subject to gangsters and thugs and white men police, and I am not. Boom. Yeah, you still subject to police. You still subject to that form of control. Well, how else would the white man control you? How else would he control you? How else would the white man control you? Explain. He has to come in and do a couple shootings, and I'm going to do a video about this, to make you still fear him. This explains why police can clearly see protests about their counterparts shooting a black person and still do it. Because some of it is ordered to keep you in order. Well, how else would you fear the white man? He's becoming more and more irrelevant as days go by, right? As far as white influence, he's becoming less and less irrelevant. So why would you fear him? Off the past, how it's been in the past, and you don't see him, he ain't even in your neighborhoods. How would you fear him? The only way you fear him is if he knocks off a couple people every once in a while. Now he's installing fear back in you. Now you see, don't you? You explain to me how it keeps happening over and over again, and the cops makes the exact same mistake. And make it make sense. How they do that? Naturally make it make sense. That's what I'm asking. Tell me how that normally makes sense, where a cop that is trained already not to make those mistakes, how they keep making the mistakes all across the country. This is what you all have not thought about and considered. Black Lives Matter has not considered it. All these political leaders have not considered it. I ain't hear you talk about it. They are intentionally doing some of these shootings to make us fear the white leadership. I'm not against white people. I'm against those who oppose other people. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? And they are doing, what I believe is they're doing, those shootings, part of those shootings are for psychological control over the community to still fear the white man that is almost irrelevant to the American culture. He's almost irrelevant. So how can he keep his superiority complex on top? How can he keep his superiority complex on top? How does he do it? Through little shootings here and there, so you still fear him when you see him. Because if he didn't do that, you wouldn't fear him when you see him. He's becoming the minority. Don't you see that? As far as influence, as far as the culture. Think about it. Why else would you fear him? So, and my argument is, my strongest point in argument is, why does these cops make the same exact mistake? Why have they been doing this since Ferguson in St. Louis, which was back in what, August 2014? Since August 2014, almost 10 years ago, look at all the string of killings that went on. So about midway through the other decade, they started doing these shootings. Midway through the last decade, before 2020, around August 2014, they started doing all these shootings. And you cannot explain to me why they would still make the same mistake. And at one point, it was every 3 months. I know you remember that. It was every 3 months somebody was shot by the police. It was at least every 4 to 5 months, definitely. I'm being generous. It was way more than that. But safe to say, at least every 4 to 5 months. How can a cop watch this national protest on what that happens because of a counterpart of his shooting someone? How can he make that same exact mistake with specifically black people? How does that happen? It's systematic psychological control by white supremacists. How can you explain how it doesn't happen all the time then? Now, this is where it gets tricky. I'm not trying to mess with your head, but listen. If you got killing and all of this, you know how the streets are. Just think about it in terms of the streets. The streets is banging every day. Somebody shooting every day, right? But you don't see a cop do it every day, right? But the cops are interacting with these same individuals every single day. So how isn't it not happening more often? I know this is tricky of thought. So it's safe. So you could say that they're not making these mistakes. But they could be based on the danger. They could be making the same mistakes based on dangerous individuals and dangerous interactions with dangerous individuals. They could be making the same mistakes. Why not? They're interacting with dangerous individuals all the time. Now you see what I'm saying? They're interacting with them all the time. So why wouldn't it be going on more? Because police are trained to not make those mistakes. So how does that happen and then it goes away then? It goes away, right? How's it going totally away when the same situation is there? And day by day it's getting worse. But then in the past it had a pattern. It had a pattern of going on and on and on and on. Like in 2014 after Ferguson, it went on and on and on and on and on. And it created this Black Lives Matter movement. That's what birthed it out, really, was the systematic shootings, the psychological systematic shootings in America. That's what birthed out Black Lives Matter. They seen all these shootings, but they were not able to properly define it. I cannot believe that cops can make the same mistake when, if it was the case that they was subject to that type of mistake, it would be happening more often. If they were subject to this mistake, why isn't it happening more often then? This is a whole country. Why isn't it happening more often? Because it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to happen. I believe these systematic shootings, these shootings were systematic, psychological systematic control, so that you would still fear the white man, because if you don't, then you can come out of the ghetto and start doing more. They have to keep you subject to them so that you don't start Waking up and saying, there's more money over there. Let me go over there and rob somebody over there. So in order for them to stop you from robbing other people and rising up also against and having more confidence to rise up against the powers that be, they have to always do something to make you feel subject to them. Think about it. I'm talking about white supremacists. I'm not talking about everybody white. They have to do something to make you subject to them. How else would they control you? And this is how you know they fear you. When COVID-19 happened, they gave you stimulus checks. You know why they gave you those stimulus checks? So that you would not uprise in an uncertain time, in a time of uncertainty. That's the only reason they gave you those checks. That's the only reason, so that they could pacify the people. They only gave you those stimulus checks to pacify you, so that you would not rise up, so that you would not uprise in a time of uncertainty. That's all it was. They did, and that's how you know what they fear. They fear you uprising. Some would say they put Barack Obama in office because they knew a recession was coming. When he got in there, a recession came right after that. Because of what Bush had did, invade all of that stuff that he did, all of that his whole presidency, the last Bush in there, he did a lot of stuff. And if it was a white man in there after him, y'all might have uprised against the government. So when all that recession and all of that stuff, that real recession that came, if it would have been a white man in office, because the recession didn't just pop up out of nowhere. The recession didn't pop up out of nowhere. So they knew it was coming. They put somebody in office to play the janitor and clean up all that George Bush did. What does a black man have to do in any corporation? What's his first job? His first job in any corporation is janitorial. The first job usually an African American has in a big, huge corporation, throughout a huge building, a huge corporation, is janitorial. Barack Obama came in as janitorial for George Bush feces that he put, his political feces. The black man has to always play a janitor. He made first, he earned his stripes in other places, but he has to become a janitor. So the first black president had to be a janitor. And he had to clean up all the stuff that George Bush did with that 2003 invasion of Iraq and all of that and everything else that he did. Barack Obama had to come in and clean that up. And consider 9/11. Boom, you didn't think about that, did you? That's a 7 hour. 9/11. That happened with George Bush, the last George Bush. And you still can't tell me how Trade Center 7 fell by fire. How's a big plane like that, a big building like that fall from fire without anything hitting it? It would have took hours for that to happen. But yet it just fell down without effort. A building doesn't fall down like that without effort from just fire. Any idiot knows that. And that happened under George Bush's, the last one's administration, the last George Bush administration, the last Bush administration. And Barack Obama came in as a janitor. No disrespect to him, but he came in as a political janitor to clean up all of that mess. And if you didn't have him in there, it would have been a possible uprising. They're very strategic and very scared of uprisings. That's why they tried to stop Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., and me. Because they're fearful of uprisings. Think about it. If you don't control, it's all these people out here. All these hundreds of millions of people. And if you don't know how they think about it now. Put yourself in their shoes. You don't know how they think. You don't know what they're doing out there. You don't know what they're talking about. So what you got to do? How can you make sure ain't no conspiracy going on to overthrow the government? How can you be sure about it? You have to have a culture that creates a massive perspective. And so the culture, you don't understand. The culture is nothing but a big brain. And they dump whatever they want you to think in this big brain. And so it produces a massive thought process. That's what it does. It produces a massive intended thought process. This is how they control you. It's through the culture. It's a big brain of a massive thought process on different issues. And anytime they want you to think something, they throw it in the culture. Anytime they want you to think a certain way, they throw it in the big brain, the culture. Now you see how they get you. Because how else could you control a whole millions of people? Think about it. How would you control them? It's a scary thought, right? It's a scary thought. How can you make sure they ain't going to do? These are millions of people. These are millions of people. How can you make sure they don't overthrow you and kill you all? How can you be sure? How you know they ain't gonna do it? You have to control the culture that produces this massive mindset of, guess what? Submission to white people, submission to white authority. So guess what they got to do? Put some police shootings in the culture. So now, guess what? Culturally, you fear white people all over again because of the police shootings. Think about it. What makes you fear white people right now? Police shootings. So what we got to do? We got to double down on it. Do more of them. Now you see what I'm saying. This is how wicked it is. Do more of these police shootings so that the white man is still feared. So now this is in the culture. Now you got Black Lives Matter, who is a spokesman for the police shootings, which subconsciously still influences, it still points out that the white man is killing, which it still makes you, many of you, fearful. So Black Lives Matter doesn't, but the issue that they have, that they present and constantly talk about is what? Police shootings. Now it's getting spooky, isn't it? They don't talk about nothing else, do they? All it is the police shootings, ain't it? Boom, Al, that's 7. And that's what people complain about, why they ain't in the ghetto. And so all they talking about is that, which some would say is planned influence and control. I ain't gonna go that far to say that. But indirectly, it's still part of the influence of the white man is doing all the shooting, and therefore we should fear him. And it still makes you, because it's talking about the issue of the white man killing you, it still works in the direction of making white people feared by you. Boy, that's good. That's good. See, I want people to listen to me to be equipped. Be equipped with the truth. I get up on one every day. I get up on one every single day. And I want people to be equipped and ready and understand what's going on. Okay? So, how we beat these systems and people, it's not with guns and weapons. We don't do it like that. That's what they're waiting for. That's what they're scared of. They're scared of an uprising. We ain't gonna beat them that way. We see that they have such a crippling weakness of immorality that this is what we can use. It's the perfect war. Okay? And the information of this immorality is 43 states of child marriage. That's immoral. This is how they have already hung themselves as a system. I need you to go out and spread it as much as you possibly can. Tell your family, you ain't got to sing a song about it. You ain't got to make you ain't got to lay down 3 verses about it. You ain't got to make a hook and 3 verses about it. I'm just saying, text your family. 43 states has child marriage. Boom. That's all you got to say. That's what I do. My dad knows, my mom knows. And I'm constantly bringing it up so they won't forget it. My mom didn't know and my dad didn't know. I educated my own parents about this. Okay? They got 43 states of child marriage here. You need to tell your family, you need to tell everybody you know, this is how we beat these individuals. It's like a rock star in a burnt up house coat, sitting around getting high all the time, and is almost ready to die. You know the type, the hippie like rock star that's almost ready to die. Right? So how we beat them is we use their immorality as a rock star has, and let them destroy themselves with their own immorality. And some people will say, well, how is it wrong? How is it wrong? It's against God. They're fighting against us. They're strategic against us. Why shouldn't we be strategic against them? And at least we're not using physical operations like they're doing against us. See, our enemies are spoiled. You see how spoiled they are? You see how spoiled they are? We're not technically doing anything to them, are we? They forgot about that. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, yeah, he's right. He's not actually doing anything. We kind of forgot about that. Yeah, you're not physically nothing's being done to you. That's how powerful we are. That's why I told you don't play with the kingdom of God, man. We don't have to even touch you. And we are still felt. No pun intended. We don't touch you and we are still felt. You still feel me. Physically and internally. You feel me internally. You relate to me. You understand me. And I don't even touch you. I'm Tupac on steroids. If you compare me to Tupac, I'm Tupac on steroids. I'm going to be felt, and I'm going to be felt physically. And guess what? I ain't done nothing to you. Physically speaking. Yeah. So this is how we beat them. We beat them through using their immorality, their own character, letting them use that against themselves. See, what you have to realize is all my allies and listen, you don't have to do anything to them at this point. All you have to do is practice patience. And it's not easy because they got the gang stalkers, but I'm on top of that though. I'm taking care of that. I'm taking care of all that gang stalker stuff. I'm taking care of that. Don't you worry. We're going to take care of that. Because see, that right there is cake. They deserve to die. Any gang stalkers deserve to die. That's it. I don't care how they justify their cause. I don't care about none of that. In a country like America, where people have been under illegal surveillance for other reasons and other things and injustices here, a gang stalker is cake. In a country like this, with a long history, notoriously, for being unjust, of doing unjust things, acts of injustice. They got a whole history of that. And so for you to come up behind that and gang stalk is cake. Eat you right up, buddy. Yeah, nobody trying to hear any justification. In America, just in case these moron gang stalkers don't know, if you don't have any evidence of anything, being the history of injustices in America, if you do not have proper evidence and proper all the stuff you need, cause and all, you can't prove motive, cause, evidence. You don't have any of that, bro. You're in trouble. I mean, we ain't going by no hearsay or testimonies. I don't care if it's a testimonies from my ancestors. I don't care if it's a testimony from my ancestors. If you do not have evidence, you are dead. Okay? And that's it. I don't live in a chicken-eating high school mentality. Sitting around eating chicken like you in high school. Talking about this and that and the third with no evidence. You die for that. And it's over with. Okay? You got it good. Yeah, this is the real world. I'm reinforcing the real world for all these crazy, goofy cartoon people walking around like cartoons. I'm reinforcing the real world where if you don't have evidence, you dead. When you cause this kind of problem, if you cause this kind of problem and you don't got proper evidence, you dead. Yeah. What you thought you was gonna walk away? You was gonna walk away after causing all these problems. That's what you thought? Man, boy, you must really be in high school. You must really be. You thought you was gonna walk away after causing all these problems in our world, the whole world, with gang stalking, and find out you have no evidence. And here's the whole punchline that I can't make up. Then we find out you have child marriage in 43 states. We find out you got child marriage in 43 states. We find out you have child marriage in 43 states after nationally gang stalking people that you thought were pedophiles. Now listen to this. My allies, listen to this. Russians, Chinese, listen to this. They have child marriage. Their country gang stalked me culturally. I mean, nationwide. They made it like a big nationwide cultural thing, right? Yeah, like the whole country. And they did it through putting it through the culture. They used secret societies to come in and spread this information in a wildfire type fashion to the point where I became part of their culture, right? As being some pedophile or something, right? But then we find out in the middle of that, the truth that I'm not, they find it out. Hear this part. They find it out, right? They find out what really happened, which was really my brother was jealous of me. He sent out crazy information. My brother did. He sent out crazy information because his wife lusted after me in front of everybody. Everyone, she said, in front of everybody. Like while I was telling some jokes at a party in July 4th, 2010. So this is the motives of my brother telling Freemasons and witch covens and Illuminati. He telling all of them all these crazy stories because his wife lusted after me at a 4th of July party 2010. And she went, in front of everybody. Everybody heard it. And at that time, I didn't think that he heard her. But then he started working against me. And that's how I knew what it was all about. Remind you, I seen his son born in the hospital. I seen his son born in the hospital. Now, what man would bring someone who they feel victimized them to the hospital? Read between the lines. Read between the lines. Don't be so smart, you're stupid. That's for the psychologist too. Why would somebody bring your son, that person, to see your newborn son born if you feel they victimized you? If you really felt that way, if you really were affected, if you really felt you was wrong, if you really felt this was the nature of that person, why would you bring them to the hospital to see your son born? It's no pun intended, ironically, it's the smoking gun evidence of my purity. Boom. Which means that wasn't the motive, that I'm impure. Or that's not the truth, that I'm impure. The motive was his wife was lusting after me and everything like that. And so that's why he brought me to the hospital to show me, look what me and my wife did. We made a baby. Boom, now you see what I'm saying? So it wasn't the impurity. It couldn't have been impurity because you couldn't have thought I was an impure person because you wouldn't have invited me there in the first place. But you invited me there, hear this part, which strengthens my point, to show me, look what me and her got going on. The one that lusted after you, we done made a baby. Look what we got going on. You see what I'm saying? Because that was after she lusted after me. And then he still couldn't get past it. So guess what? He kicked the baby out and her out, which proves it was he could not forgive her for her lusting after his brother. Boom. That's what it was all about. So you've been played. That's what I'm trying to show you. You've been played. And that's why no matter what you do, it's a dummy mission. It feels like a sucker mission, don't it? Be 100. It feels like a sucker mission you want, ain't it? Because it is a sucker mission. Some man that's a sucker for a woman. I ain't never been no sucker for no woman in my life. I try to make things work. You know what I mean? I'll try to make things work, but I ain't gonna be no sucker. That's a sucker. Somebody, hey, listen, if my wife would have lusted after somebody in my family, hey, it ain't his fault. That's how I see it. How is his fault? I feel that way for real. I'm going to blame the person who did it. I'm not going to get you involved. I'm not going to do something to you. That's what real players would do. Like, I'm going to blame her. If she felt some type of way about you, how can I be mad at you about that? That's a sucker, man. That's a sucker for a woman. You know what I'm saying? You know the type. Just a sucker, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying love a woman. I'm not saying don't pamper a woman. I'm not saying don't love a woman or don't pamper her. But don't be no sucker, man. You feel me? Don't be where you're in fault because of a woman. And I don't care how much you love her. She shouldn't be making a sucker out of you, now should she? She made a whole sucker out of him. I would never fault another man for what a woman does. If she does something, that's him, that's her. That's not his fault. What did he do wrong? In reality, technically speaking. Let's say he don't have sex with her. I didn't have sex with her. So what did I do wrong? Huh? And then I found out it was a rumor in the family. He was so jealous and paranoid, found out it was a rumor in the family that said that I had sex with his wife. That's how paranoid he became about it, what she did. He started thinking everything happened. And I stayed across town at the time. How I'm gonna come and living with a woman with a car, driving her car. His woman ain't got no car. At that time, I'm driving another woman's car, my girlfriend's car. Why I'm gonna drive my girlfriend's car around on the other side of town? I'm on the east side of Charlotte. They on the west side of Charlotte. I'm gonna come way over there to try to holler at your wife that's living with you, that you're controlling, that lives somewhere controlled, locked away in a room with you, make it make sense. She's somewhere away, locked away in a room somewhere. How I come over there with a car now, with my own girlfriend, remind you that I'm with. How I come out of all of that to come over there where you at? Man, come on, man. You crazy, bro. You lost your mind. That's what you couldn't handle being with a real woman. You couldn't handle being with you couldn't handle being with a woman. You can't be no paranoid nut. She gotta live. Okay? You can't be no paranoid nut, man. And so that's why some people can't, they can't they can't have no woman because you're too crazy. One thing about me, my woman can go out, she can walk around, she can do whatever she want to do on her own. Because my motto is this: if I got to manipulate to have you, I don't have you. If I got to manipulate to have you, how will I ever have that kind of person? I shouldn't have to manipulate in any kind of way. I shouldn't have to handcuff you and go outside with you. Why should I have to do that? If you really are for me, you should be able to do it, but when I'm not there, you should be able to prove to these lames that's trying to entice you that they can't have you even when I'm not there. Behind my back, you should be able to show them that you don't want them. That's how I look at it. Like these suckers be out here handcuffing and gotta walk with their woman everywhere she go. I ain't that type of man. It's too much. Listen, it's too much work in that. I'm just being honest. Man, listen, man, you shouldn't have to do none of that. If that woman really is for you, and it's because a woman can love you. She's different from a man. A woman can love you, and she don't see nobody else. So if a woman loves you, you shouldn't have to be doing all that walking around. You shouldn't be having to walk around with her everywhere she go. If she loves you, my brother was paranoid. She couldn't do nothing. I'm not that type of man, and I never will be. If my woman can't do nothing on her own and be in society on her own, then how's that my woman? You feel me? Why you looking at it the other way, like whatever you looking at, I'm looking at it a whole different way than you. I'm on a whole different level than you're thinking. My thinking is she should be able to go out here in society on her own. People should be able to see that she can. First of all, I want my woman to be able to stand on her own. So then, if she's violated, boom, I come out of nowhere. A situation they ain't never know was there. See, it's more than one way of looking at everything. While you might think I'm cowering and being a coward in here, I'm not. My woman got to be tough enough to be with me. And with all this going on, all this gang stalking and all this going on, my woman has to be tough enough to stand in this situation. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. You don't. You think I'm laying back like a pimp, and that's not what it is. My woman has to be strong enough to stand in my situation. All this stuff that's going on, she can't be just here like no normal little woman. She's got to be, and so that's what explains why I let my woman do what she do, feel all this energy around, and let them do what they do, and she can stand her ground behind my back, which makes me very secure as a man. Whatever they trying to do to her out there, if she passed that test, that's the woman I want. I want them to do all they want to do. I know they've been sending all their cornballs. I can tell you all they've been doing with my woman, sending all these women, sending the lesbian spirit, and they've been sending all these guys, all these big, tall guys, all different types of guys. Man, I know I'm right because I know how they move, man. Man, come on, I know how they move. But I don't have insecurities about it. I still let her do what she do. That's how I operate. That's how I operate. So then, if she passed that test, that's who I need to love me anyway. That's who I want for me anyway. If she passed that test, if she don't pass the test, that's not who I want for me anyway. That's what I meant to say. If she don't pass those tests, that's not who I want. I need a woman that can stand out there, no matter what, all the stuff that they doing. She can be an agent just like me. She's an agent for me. She can go out, she can do stuff, she can run errands. See, you don't know what I was doing. She can run errands, she can do everything I need her to do. That's what kind of woman I need. Put yourself in, look at my situation. Imagine me being with a woman that can't handle gang stalkers and all of this stuff. I can't have that. I have to have a woman that walks through it, and whatever they doing out there, she's able to walk through it when I'm not with her. Now you see what I'm saying. She has to be able to walk. This is a good message for targeted individuals too, like TIs from gang stalkers. Your woman has to be able to stand by herself, not just with you. She has to stand by herself and be able to resist any of those games they throwing at her, whether it's lesbian games, throwing pretty boys at her, all that stuff. She got to be able to stand. So see, you see the difference between me and my brother? I'm sophisticated and secure when it comes to my relationship with women, and he's broke down, unsophisticated, and jealous. And that's what caused all of this stuff to happen. Okay? So now y'all look like y'all in middle school. And now I'm on the next level. So what I'm talking about now is how we beat the Americans. How do we beat them? We beat them through their immorality. Look, man, don't try to make some Gunsmoke, John Wayne story, Jesse James story. We don't have to go the route of some shoot 'em out, Billy the Kid story, Jesse meets Jesse James story. We don't have to do all of that. No outlaw story. We don't got to do all that. We got 43 states of child marriage on them. Why go out and run in the woods and play games with these people? Why do that? I ain't trying to go out and run in the woods for 4 or 5 years. Well, we don't have to. It don't make sense to me. This is cake. They got 43 states of child marriage and y'all playing with it. They got child marriage in a time where people hate that kind of stuff. They hate it, man. And all you got to do is tell the truth and it's there. That's for all my alliances. All you have to do is spread this information to their community, to the Americans. The Americans are not going to be with this American government any longer when they find out that they've been marrying children. See, one thing you have to understand for my allies, what you have to understand about the American people, they will not stand with the American government when they're wrong. They got child marriage. I'm not saying all these people deserve to die, but if they're in alliance with them, what am I supposed to do? You're in alliance with people that have 43 states of child marriage. What am I supposed to do? I feel like you stand for that too. You stand for that too. That's how I see it. What am I supposed to do? Say, well, I'm not going to touch that one. But you sitting over here standing with them. Nah, and they just passed their last child marriage law for all my allies, just in case you think these are dusty laws that I'm just conveniently using for my own benefit. They just passed the last child marriage law 3 years ago under the Trump administration, and he still has influence in the country. I can't make this up. He still has influence in the country. And the last child marriage law was passed under his administration, whether he did it or not. He knew about it. So you're telling me he didn't know that child marriage was passed in his country? Remind you, China does not have child marriage. Remind you, Russia does not have child marriage. They have no such laws. They have no such laws. Yet meanwhile, America think they the best. Can't be serious. Can't be serious, man. How are you the best with that going on? Anybody think they're cool here anymore? That's for all the teenagers. You think you're cool when your country got 43 states of child marriage? You think you're cool? Okay. And for the teenagers, they just passed a new child marriage law 3 years ago under the Trump administration when Donald Trump was in the White House. When he was the president, that's when the last child marriage law was passed. You think you're cool still? For all the ballers, you think you're balling? Do you feel cool when they got 43 states of child marriage over here? How can these ballers think they're cool? Okay, you got money, but are you cool? You think you're cool? They got 43 states of child marriage. You still think you're cool? See, this is the revolution. And I know you wasn't ready for it. I know. You should have knew that was going to happen. Thought the revolution was going to come when you was ready. Oh, yeah, I'm ready for a revolution. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready for a revolution. You thought that's how it was going to happen? It's going to inconvenience you. Okay? You're going to have to wake up, put your shoes on, come outside in the cold. Okay? They told you the revolution wasn't going to be televised. This is not television. This is YouTube. This technically is not television. Boom. It's a different type of technology. That's a 7 owl. They told you the revolution wouldn't be televised. It's on the phone. Boom. See, you focus more on the revolution not being publicized. The revolution has to be publicized. How it's not going to be publicized? The revolution has to be publicized. I'm going to do a video on this. It's just not going to be televised. You know why it's not going to be televised? Because that's all mind control. Boy, that's good. Boy, I can run around this whole apartment. The revolution, the TV is all about programming, literally. So how a revolution going to be on there? With all that programming, all that culture to give you a massive mindset, how could the revolution be on a TV program? Now you see up to date why it couldn't be televised. How is a revolution going to be on some program when on live TV, they'll cut that? I start talking like this would have been cut. Right or wrong? If I was talking like this on live TV, this would have been gone. They would have cut me about an hour ago. Cut, can't have that. He can't be talking like that on live TV in America. So the revolution is not going to be televised because it will be censored. The information of it will be censored. So it's technically, literally, the television that the revolution is not going to be on. Didn't say it would not be publicized. So you got to understand the difference between televised and publicized. How can we have a revolution if it's not publicized? Come on now, make it make sense now. So if it's not publicized, then it would just be me. Right or wrong? And how would that work? How would that be a revolution for you? That's a 7 hour. How would that be a revolution for you if it's not publicized to you? Boy, that's good. So the revolution cannot be televised because of the censoring and control of the culture. Boom. You just thought, oh, it ain't going to be on TV. I I know. I thought like that a little bit too. I did. We all thought like that. Oh, that means it ain't gonna be on TV. But now you see I'm elevated. Now I'm showing you. Because technically, now let's be 100. How could it be on TV with all the censorship alone? How could any revolutionary information or any revolutionary individual be on TV with all these programs and how it moves and the mind control and all of that? To think a certain way, it's all about the culture is thinking a certain way. How's the revolution gonna be on TV fighting against the grain of the culture and how we think and non-censored and not censored? Now you know up to date. Why? The revolution will not be televised. But it got to be publicized for it to be a revolution. So it's going to be on the phone. It's going to be on the internet. And see, here's the punchline. See, you was waiting for one of the guys on TV to do it, wasn't you? But the revolution is not going to be televised. You was waiting for somebody on TV to do it. You know how quick they'll censor them? Boom, out. You know how quick they'll censor them? Therefore, they cannot, listen, if you're in that system, unfortunately, you cannot be the revolution because you will be censored. But as soon as this came out, now you see where I'm going with this, don't you? As soon as this came out, well, I could sit and make a video in my house where it's just like TV. And I can tell you all the information. I can come into your house just like TV. Now you see where we're going with this. See, that was very prophetic. I can come in your house just like TV. But it's uncensored and uncontrolled because that's what television is. If they had phones and all of this during the times of Malcolm X and MLK, could you imagine what they could be doing? Would have done? MLK get up in the morning, make a video. Yeah, I just wanted to tell y'all. I just wanted to tell y'all. Malcolm X, yeah. I just felt like this is what needed to be said. Getting up in the morning, making videos. And remind you, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. could still have been alive. They still could be here. I know it may seem like it was a long time ago, right? But they're just the ages of our parents, right in there with our parents. The baby boomers. If your parents are baby boomers, they was around the same age as them. They were not baby boomers. They came from the silent generation. Malcolm X and MLK and Farrakhan too. They come from the silent generation. Ironically, and they were not silent. They are not silent. Referencing to Farrakhan because he's still here. He's still going to be here. They come from the silent generation, just before the baby boomers. Okay? So, this is what you need, man. You know what I'm saying? To understand is that we still could have them here now. They would be in their 80s, late 80s, 90s, early 90s, some of them. And they still could be making videos right now. See, when you have people like that, you can't lose them. You will never get them back, man. You can never get them back. And see, other people who understand history and life understand that. You can't go make no other Malcolm X. You can't go make no MLK, even if you wanted to. People say there will be no MLKs or Malcolm X. That's absolutely right. Because the universe, God is not going to give us another one of them per se. He can do something better, but not another one like them, though. God is progressive. God is absolutely all about progression. Excuse me. But it ain't gonna be nobody else like them. That's why we have to move strategic, protect leaders, and we've never been. No Americans have ever been good at that. They have never been good at protecting kings and queens. They've never been good at that. Not at all. Not at all, man. But we gotta, like I said, our style is monk style, righteousness. This is how we beat this community that opposes us. These gang stalkers, we beat them through righteousness. We beat them through holiness. This is how we beat them. I'm gonna do another video. I'm gonna do a video exclusively about the gang stalkers and how we beat them, because they're part of the American community too. And we're gonna beat them with righteousness and monk style. That's how we're gonna beat them, abstaining from the culture and abstaining from all these things. Meanwhile, we're still being informed of everything.